Yeah,
What's up,
I saw
people?
121 times.
Yeah, yeah. What's up, people? This is Robert Bassano. Come on, man. It's not what you know, is what you can prove, right? Explanate veritas. I got Cathaxis here. I got Robert Shortman. I got John. And then, of course, there's myself. There's supposed to be some other people coming up in here, but if they don't show up, they don't show up. No big deal. So we're going to be talking about Dr. James Van Allen fraud and the truth about radiation. I don't even know if this is going to be a two-part series, three-part, four-part, whatever it may be. But I'm only going to go about an hour on this bad boy. And then John's going to finish off to answer questions somebody else had for him. He's going to address. So that'll be towards the end. He got about 25 minutes on that bad boy. But some people have been wanting me to talk about the Van Allen radiation belts and Dr. James Van Allen's research for quite some time. I addressed it when I first came on the scene with doing this whole social media thing. And, it didn't take hold back then. But I have yet to see anyone actually dive in and go looking for this guy's documentation and his letters and his notes and the research he's been doing and look into his background to really, kind of close the coffin on this whole Van Allen radiation belt bullshit. And I do mean bullshit. Okay, so we're gonna address a few things here. Robert Shortman is going to, kick this off because I got a link here I'm gonna pull up from Miriam Technologies talking about the history of radiation. And we're not radiologists, we're not radiation experts, we're not physicists, we're not theoretical physicists, nuclear physicists, but we're going to talk about this because basic sciences tells us how radiation actually comes about. We're going to dive into that a little bit. Guys on the panel are going to you know give you their take on it. Um, but it's all about the documentation. We're going to go through this whole thing. So I'm not saying that we're going to basically put this to bed in 1 hour on this show, but there might be a series of them, and we're just going to keep going through everything we can possibly go through in the amount of time that'll be allocated for this whole thing. So if you got questions out there in the chat, just talk amongst yourselves. If you got a wrench, knock somebody upside the head if you have to, kick them out. I don't give a shit. If they don't know how to behave themselves and be adults and really ask some questions that make some fucking sense, then they deserve to be treated accordingly. All right. Other than that, we're gonna get this started. Robert, do you want me to pull up that one link from Marion Technologies, or you want to show
Yeah,
something different?
yeah. If you bring that up, and then I'll just
Okay.
read.
Let me do the share screen on Marion Technologies and let you go on that.
Yeah.
And again, for those somebody, please have the watch page up so that I know that this shit is actually showing. We'll go from there. And let me pull up Miriam Technologies here. Okay, let me blow this up a little bit. So about 125%. Okay, so Miriam Technologies actually talks about the history of radiation. And it's good for everybody to actually see this and we go through it and read it so people can talk about what it is. Now, hang on a second. Okay. And I'll put this link up for everybody so you can see it. As a matter of fact, let me do that now so everybody can follow along if you can, if you want to. It's up to you. All right, but there are a few things that we're going to be comparing with regard to what they talk about and how they describe radiation, because I went looking for what is radiation. There is no definition of just radiation. It's a term. It's a term used to describe something that is expanding, moving about, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So when you try to define radiation, they talk about the types of radiation. And in this particular case, that's what we see here. They say the modern understanding of ionizing radiation got its start in 1895 while with Wilhelm Rontgen, I guess that's what his name is. In the process of conducting various experiments and applying currents to different vacuum tubes, he discovered that despite covering one in a screen to block light, there seems to be rays penetrating through to react with a barium solution on a screen he placed nearby. After several experiments, including taking the first photo of his wife's hand and skeletal structure with the new rays, he named them X-rays, temporarily as a designation of something unknown, and the name stuck. Okay, so watch dial painters. This just talks about the history. All right, they talk about the Manhattan Project. Of course, that's dangerous types of radiation, so they claim. And there was one person that I wanted to have in here who's not in here. Maybe she had a hair appointment or something. Let's go to natural occurring forms of radiation.
Yeah, there's many types of just ground rocks that
natural occurring sources of radiation. Now, if everyone should already know this, your body, your heart actually emits its own specific electromagnetic field, which is a form of radiation. It's biological. Okay, is it harmful to you? No, but I know people that can stand next to each other, and the one person they just get fucking just nauseous and sick just standing next to that person for whatever reason. And Robert and I talked about this the other day. If you've ever been close to a person who had, a chemotherapy session, you could get sick from them. You could get sick from them. Okay. That's why those people got to wear face masks and shit like that, and they got to keep their distance from people who are healthy, because all of that ionizing radiation that's inside of them, they breathe that shit out, man. They can literally make someone else sick or potentially kill them. All right. Radioactive material is fairly common in nature, generally pretty harmless in that state. Okay. So when they're finding plutonium, uranium, whatever other radioactive substance, is harmless in the state that it's in. Understand how much of the radioactive material a person comes across in a given day is from the natural environment around them. Now, I want to give my explanation of what radiation is, all right? Because I've been taking physics courses, and then everyone else on the panel can chime in and either agree or disagree and give your own interpretation.
Okay.
So let me do it this way. When you look at protons, electrons, and neutrons, right? You're going to get a large group of protons and electrons that are attracted to each other, right? And they clump together because they're all vibrating at the same frequency, right? Or they're at different frequencies. And some will begin to vibrate at the same frequencies as the rest of the protons and electrons, and some won't. But as you start to increase this accumulation of protons and electrons, either that particular particle or matter will grow in size, all right, and intensity with regard to the energy that it's emitting based on the vibration, or it will remain the same size, same composition, same structure. And if other protons and electrons start to come into that same realm, you have what's called equilibrium, all right? And what will happen is that particular particle or matter needs to remain stable, because it says, hey, the house is full. We're not taking any more, party crashers. You're going to have to go. So what happens is that excess amount of matter or extra particles starts to disperse. That's radiation. So when you get a specific particle that becomes unstable, or matter that becomes unstable, it's unstable because it's getting rid of its excess energy, because it needs to remain at an equilibrium state. That is radiation. It happens every day. All right. You got an 8-ounce glass. You fill it up with water. If you go beyond the 8 ounces, the water's going to spill out. That's the same thing that happens with protons and neutrons. You just can't put more than 8 ounces of fucking water in a glass. Everything around us, everything in our environment is constantly undergoing some sort of equilibrium state. So where does that excess go? It's looking for somewhere else to go. It gets either absorbed by another piece of matter or goes into another environment, or it just stays stationary, it stays still. Okay, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just static. All right, and then it gets to a point to where that environment becomes so highly charged with excess particles and matter that it's being termed as what they call being radioactive. Okay, it's a radioactive environment. All right, and unless you are at the same frequency and the same, if you go into the environment absent radioactive particles, then that radioactive and all of that, everything that's in that radioactive environment will be absorbed into your body. Will you die? I don't fucking know. But if you're absent of that, then it's gonna, when you give something away, you got to get something back, and vice versa. When you get something back, you got to give something away. That's how this all works. That's how radiation works. Everywhere. I don't give a shit what the substance is, what the particle is, what the element is on the periodic chart. Everything is undergoing equilibrium, but you do have what they call radioactive environments where everything's vibrating at either a higher frequency or a lower frequency, but it's not unstable. I want to make that fucking very clear. It's not an unstable environment, meaning that if you went in there with another substance that you think could light it up and make it go boom, that's not because that environment you put it into was unstable. It just means that you added some other ingredient to get it excited even more for it to disperse into another realm to balance itself out. Okay? To go through another equilibrium state. So I wanted to say that if anybody else on the panel wants to give their input on something different, please feel free, go ahead and then chime in. If not, I'm going to continue reading this to give people kind of some general information before we get into the meat of basically, smashing, Van Allen's research, because what he claimed to have done in 1953 wasn't possible. And we're going to show that to you. And you guys want to chime in? Kat, Rob, John?
Yep, shortly. I'm just looking for this particular document. Yeah, but basically with this, you know, radiation, it's high and low frequency, which will give you, the high frequency is a lot more dangerous than the low frequency, and it's on the same spectrum at the other end with the actual wavelength. So, the way I regard radiation is just it's another form of energy particle, which is just it's a type of waveform. So that's where it does the damage, and it does it from the atoms up. So it'll take out the atoms of your body gradually at certain points. Like your body's under continual radiation damage from natural sources on a daily basis, and it repairs against them on a daily basis as well. It's only when you get compromised immune systems and you're not eat the right things, etc., is when you get damage from that. But yeah, radiation is basically just that in itself. From that to the microwave, where you can put your food in and cook it. All that is just energizing energy waves out to that food and then heating up the particles within that food to heat them up. So I mean, it's just another form of that. And at the extreme end is nuclear, where they've got the most reaction, and that's why they put them in those facilities where they can generate steam, because they produce such a lot of temperature. They use that steam to turn the turbines on that. So some reactors also use radiation as shielding, so they'll things like the tokamak and CERN certainly use that in their facilities to actually shield it, along with all their magnetic and other shielding facilities when they're smashing these particles. So they use it, and and it's a natural thing, and you can get it from human source, so via actually making it, and then the natural source, and then you can get it naturally emitting from that. But yeah, there's various levels of concealing yourself from it as well, just from paper to glass to concrete and water. That will all block it. So I think they dramatize and do fear up a lot of the actual facts about it, and I think that's where the problem is. You know, yes, it's dangerous, but to what extent? You know, that's not entirely kind of fully researched 100%. You know, when you've got, you know, they look back in these places like Fukushima and not Fukushima, sorry, Chernobyl, and then you've got things in the area, animals and all that, actually thriving and not, you know, succumbing to that. It's either the factor that it wasn't that dangerous in the first place, or what was there dissipated within that, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of it happening. So I just thought that was interesting, but that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's been misrepresented is really the best word I would use. I mean,
Yes.
you get a lot of people talking about this or that being a hoax or not real or not. I mean, this is a bit out of my depth, but from my basic research, I just think that the danger of it, or even what it may be doing, so to speak, might be been misrepresented to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's how I
as
approach it.
as an example, I'll tell you this here right now, and John and I can tell you about this. If, you know, I was, when I was in the military, I mean, I wasn't really exposed to any type of high energy radioactive environments, but I did work in a hospital. And everyone always, you know, when I did the rotation in the radiology department, you had to wear the that badge so that they know how much radiation you were being exposed to.
They've got cesium there, haven't they? Cesium.
Yeah. Now, here's something interesting I'm showing here on this page. They talk about how bananas are, you know, are very high in potassium, and they have a higher than usual amount of potassium 40, a radioactive isotope. Now, let me give you an example here. If you've ever been exposed to a high dose of radiation, or let's say you were exposed to something that could, you know, damage your cells. I mean, if it was radioactive, you take potassium tablets to protect your thyroid, right?
Yep.
Or iodine tablets.
Iodine, yeah, as well.
Now get this. Think about how expensive that shit is. Now, think about, and then now look at bananas and ask yourself how many fucking bananas would you need to eat, and how much you'd be paying for a bushel of bananas versus buying fucking iodine tablets or potassium tablets. Think about that. Think about how many people don't actually eat bananas on a daily basis, and then look at the people who don't eat bananas you know, at all, or don't like them, and then compare that to the incidences of cancer. Potentially, compare that to the incidences of cancer, because somehow potassium 40, which is a radioactive isotope, could be neutralizing harmful types of radiation that you might have been exposed to in other environments. Like, for example, with your phone, they said that, you know, when you use the electromagnetic waves, you know, put out through your phone or Wi-Fi and cell phone technology, people were having all kinds of problems in their head and shit like that, getting sick and nauseous. But when you look at the fact that one of the fruits that, you know, I actually love eating, and then you've got animals out there. I mean, you've got, you know, chimpanzees and gorillas that eat these fucking all day long, and which means that their system, their blood, is rich with potassium 40, a radioactive isotope. Now, who's to say?
Sorry, go on.
Who's to say that potassium 40 couldn't be some sort of super radioactive isotope to literally give us the same strength that a full-grown fucking silverback gorilla has?
True.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that shit sounds funny. I know that sounds funny, but think about it. I mean, when you look at the fucking Marvel Comics fucking shit, like with the Hulk, right? What made him as big and as strong as he was? I mean,
Radiation.
because what you want, it was fucking gamma radiation.
Mm-hmm.
It was radiation that made him what he was, how strong he was. And here it is. I didn't know this about bananas, to be honest with you. I didn't know it. Now, if I'm not trying to scare anybody, but people who might be afraid of, you know, radioactive everything, they'll be like, shit, I love bananas. Fuck, I ain't eating this now. It's got a radioactive isotope in it.
It's the nut,
I've
brilliant.
actually
Nuts are the same.
seen. Sorry, there. I've actually seen several websites who sell radioactive material. I can't remember the specifics of it. I've looked through my bookmarks right now, and they say it's a whole conspiracy. Like, it's been overplayed as dangerous because they know how much it enhances and helps human beings, certain types. And they literally sell these radioactive rocks that are naturally occurring, and you're supposed to like sleep with them and like put them, you know, in your pocket and shit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to find it for you.
here's what they say. They said, in fact, the term banana equivalent dose has come in pretty common use as a reference point for communicating radiation exposure. So when someone says, you just got a banana equivalent dose of radiation. Banana equivalent? Yeah, fucker. This banana right here, that's how much radiation you got exposed to.
Yeah, I think I
So
need
when
to
you look
eat
at
more.
people who are going through chemotherapy, they're actually killing everything in their body when really they could just sit them in the fucking clinic and says, you know what, drink this banana shake, eat these bananas, you know,
Oh, don't get me on chemo, man.
Yeah,
It's really frustrating.
that's
But
really
yeah,
bad,
yeah,
really bad. There's so many natural ways, like you say, Robert. Just
so many.
bananas, so many
Just
simple ways.
yeah, with if you got cancer problems, look into a ketogenic diet with an alkaline water system and
Yeah,
give it a
I agree.
month. That's all
I
you
agree with
need.
that too. Yeah,
High fat
100%.
now,
diet without an alkaline high fat diet. That's all you need.
Yeah,
now I want you guys to understand something. That explanation I gave about radiation, where everything's going through an equilibrium state, right? When you talk about bananas being a radioactive isotope, okay? Now, would that, I mean, radioactive isotopes are not dangerous. I mean, it looks like that's what's required for us to maintain balance of our own bodies. They talk about other foods here. Other common foods that contain elevated levels of radioactive elements include carrots and white potatoes, which carry slightly lower levels of potassium 40. Lima beans have almost 50% more potassium 40 than bananas. I fucking love lima beans, dude. And also very small amounts of radon, 224. The food with the highest concentration of radioactive elements, in this case, radium, is in the Brazil nut. And all these foods, however, the levels are extremely low and not considered harmful, and almost none of the radioactive material consumed while eating any of them is retained in the body. The fat content of the Brazil nuts would pose a health risk long before the radiation in them for the example. Okay? Now, again, this topic ain't gonna be about cancer, but when you talk about all of the radioactive isotope material inside fucking lima beans, carrots, potatoes, bananas, and fucking radon. I don't even know what the hell radon is, but they said it's very small amounts of radon. But when they talk about lima beans having 50% more potassium than bananas, think about if you're into healthy eating, you only eat lentils, you only eat beans and rice and potatoes and stuff like that. You're a vegetarian, right? Now,
Hmm.
something that I have learned about radiation is this: it actually is accelerates aging of everything. It accelerates aging of the body. So if you want to go on a strict fruit diet, a strict vegetarian diet, like for example, Hindus, they eat nothing but beans and rice all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have the highest incidences of birth defects and death
Hmm.
rates.
Absolutely.
Okay, because people think, and I know John's gonna laugh at this. People think that individuals who are obese or overweight, or say that their thyroids are affected, where their metabolism is slow, those people actually they can stay healthy and live longer. See, there's an ideal body weight and size and body mass index that is perfect just for you. See, everyone wants to be in this chiseled, rock hard, physical fitness, triathlete type of fucking shape, thinking, okay, I'm going to eat all this healthy food, I'm going to eat healthy. No, you're actually accelerating the aging process of every fucking cell in your body. You're
Yep.
destroying
You're
healthy fucking
depleting
cells.
it. You're depleting it of what your body actually requires,
Yeah,
which
you're
is
depleting.
fat.
Come on, when
yeah,
you talk about lima beans, shit, I know somebody who can eat a whole fucking bowl of lima beans. So now, when I see that person, Next month, I'm like, dude, you still eat lima beans? Yeah, dude, I love lima beans, brother. Well, dude, come on, I got to tell you something, man. That shit got 50% more potassium in it than bananas. Okay, so what's that mean? That means, dude,
Radioactive.
you like fucking 250 times the fucking radioisotopes in your body.
But you see, that actually might be good. I'm serious. I was looking into it a couple months ago, and it appears that there's a group of people who think it's a huge conspiracy, and that radiation, a certain level in a certain way, is actually super healthy for a human being. But I'm
Well,
not saying that that is the case. I'm saying
for
I've seen
some
that
people,
before.
though, for some people, not for
Yeah,
everyone. Not fair. I
yeah,
mean, you just can't see. And then, I was listening to that one guy. What's his name? Dave Murphy or something like that. The one who does the
yeah.
urine
D.
therapy.
Murphy.
I heard something very interesting and important that he says. He says, if you're going to go into doing these type of things to prolong your life, you can't just jump into that shit like the next day. You gotta you gotta literally do a little at a time. You gotta gradually build yourself up.
Yeah, but he
Now,
drinks piss.
Okay.
okay, look,
There's a
man.
science behind it. That you don't
There's
just, there is a science behind it.
He drinks.
You got to give him that.
He drinks piss.
Yeah, it's an old Vedic. There's something to it, but it's not something
Yeah,
I'm
There's
interested in.
there's something to it.
Whatever.
All right.
He don't
We ain't
drink
gonna-
other
we-
people's piss. He drinks his own.
we're not
Come
gonna
on
do
now.
that right now. I ain't gonna kid anything. I know John's gonna
Come on,
go there.
John. We ain't
Yeah.
going there.
So here you go. They talk about the sun. Powered by a continuous nuclear reaction, we know that this to be false. I had a conversation with Eric Dollar. There ain't no type of fusion reaction going on inside the sun at all. Okay, they said it is a continuous nuclear reaction. It comes as a little surprise that the sun gives off quite a bit of radiation. There's also a good bit of cosmic radiation origination from sources outside the solar system. Luckily for life on Earth, however, most of that energy is intercepted and absorbed by Earth's magnetosphere and the ozone layer. Okay? Cosmic radiation does, however, make up a small percentage, about 13% of the total annual background radiation a person is exposed to over the course of a year. This exposure rate is slightly increased by living at higher altitudes and even more so by air travel. Flight crews on long distances, high altitude flights tend to accumulate about 30% more annual radiation exposure than the average person. Okay? The ground beneath our feet, radium, uranium from mining and oil. The other major sources of natural occurring radiation is from minerals and materials buried in the earth. Most common are potassium-40, uranium-238, and thorium-232, which all have fairly long half-lives. Additionally, there are some small quantities of shorter-lived materials such as radium-226, which is a decayed product of U-238. Now, I've heard that shit before. Now, if there's a shitload of this just in the ground, and it's a decay product of 238, all right, shit, you can make up your own conclusions there, what you potentially be able to do with that. But, I don't think that anyone would be able to get it to a level where it would be unstable and just dangerous. And
Well,
radon too.
Oh, sorry, Robert. Go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have a quote here from Van Allen himself that says, "But through mechanical and electronic equipment can operate within high radiation areas. A living organism cannot survive this level of radiation damage. Hence, all manned spaceflights attempts must steer clear of the two radiation belts until adequate means of safeguarding the astronauts have been developed." He said
Man,
that
why'd you just blow my
1961.
load like that? You just premature ejaculated me, dude.
Oh,
Come on, man.
I'm presenting what I have to offer, man. I'm just
Come
looking
on, bro. We're gonna get to that after read this, man.
up. Keep going.
Come on,
Sorry,
bro.
Robert. Sorry, dude.
Damn, I was just
I didn't
getting
mean to. I
ready
thought
to
that's where you were
get
leading
to that.
to. I thought that's where
Come
you were
on.
leading to.
We talk about Bassano. That's cool though. That was you're gonna read that again. Hold on, because I want to finish this part right here.
My bad,
Damn,
brother. Go on.
dude,
Call me off guard today.
you 3-second rodeo rider, man. Damn.
Jeez.
All right,
Go with
radon.
the foreplay.
That's what that John would say the same thing. Just get on with it. We know it's all bullshit.
These people want some info.
Yeah, yeah.
document.
Radon being a gas can become a problem in some houses and other buildings, seeping in usually through cracks in solid foundations and accumulating rooms with poor ventilation. In the United States, the Appalachian Mountains region of southwest Pennsylvania, along with parts of Iowa, have the most problems with radon concentration due to a large deposit of uranium in the bedrock of those areas. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this, but now I want to go to, and then I'm gonna have you. I want Kat to read exactly what he just read again, and then I'm gonna show you this from NASA's website, which is gonna support what Kat quoted from James Van Allen. Read it again, Kat.
All right. So 1961 in Space World, I imagine it was a magazine. But though mechanical and electronic equipment can operate within the high radiation areas, a living organism cannot survive this level of radiation damage. Hence, all manned spaceflight attempts must steer clear of these two belts of radiation until adequate means of safeguarding the astronauts have been developed.
Now, when did he say that?
1961 in the magazine
That's
Space World.
1961. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He said this in 1961, and fucking 8 years later. Now, actually, it was maybe 7 years before that, because then they launched didn't they launch something before Apollo?
Well, here's something in 59 he said in Scientific American. So far, the most interesting and least expected result of men's exploration of the immediate vicinity of the Earth is the discovery that our planet is ringed by a region, to be exact, two regions of high-energy radiation extending many thousands of miles into space. This discovery is, of course, troubling to astronauts. Somehow, the human body will have to be shielded from this radiation, even on a rapid transit through the region.
There you go.
And that's in 59. He said that in Scientific American.
Now, I'm not going to go through the technical specs of the fucking Saturn rocket that supposedly launched the astronauts through the Van Allen belts, and none of them can even remember if they went through the shit. But I'm going to read this to you from NASA. I put this out on a video before. I'm going to do it again. This is the Phantom Torso. Okay, I know this is dated May of 2001, but they call this fucker Radiation Fred. All right, Phantom Torso. They claim they put this up there on ISS. Now, here's what they say. They say that the Phantom Torso, also known as Fred, is an anatomical model of a human torso and head. Fred contains hundreds of radiation monitoring devices, right? Fred, who's spending the next 4 months on board the International Space Station, will measure the amount of radiation to which astronauts are exposed. Now, they claim this shit is up there like 200 miles, right? 240 miles. High energy particles that pass through the human body can disrupt the way the cells function. Although no astronaut, now here's the key fucking statement right here. No astronaut has ever been diagnosed with space radiation sickness, which is excessive exposure could lead to health problems. Wait a fucking minute. Now, this is Dr. Gautam Badwa. He works for fucking NASA. I don't know if he's working for him anymore. But they talk about the types of radiation danger to astronauts in space. The most energetic are galactic cosmic rays, the nuclei of atoms accelerated by supernova explosions outside our solar system. Cosmic ray nuclei can be as light as hydrogen, as heavy as iron, or almost anything in between. Because they lack their surrounding coat of negatively charged electrons, GCRs are positively charged. The heavier nuclei carry the greatest charge, explains Badwar. As the charge increases, the amount of energy that the particle can deposit in tissue increases as well. Now, this picture here shows the South Atlantic anomaly. NASA claims, okay, oh shit, go back. NASA claims that this is part of the Van Allen radiation belt dipping down over the lower part of South America and stretching all the way to the tip of South Africa. It's called the South Atlantic anomaly. A bunch of people have mentioned this shit, all right? I even brought this up. I had a classmate who said he worked at NORAD, and his job was to monitor terrestrial satellite operations. He says that everything passing through this region, before it gets there, they got to turn the shit off, and then as it comes out of it, it turns it back on. That's what he said. He goes, they have to protect the electronics. The only way they can protect it, they ain't got no fucking radiation shielding up there. But they said when it goes through this zone, if it's still on, it's gonna fry everything. The fucking thing's gonna drop out of the sky. That's what they said. All right. That's what they said.
How far up is it dipping down to?
The
100 kilometers or something like that.
The Van Allen radiation belts. I don't know why this shit they keep doing that, dude.
With the
They
South
say the
Atlantic
Van Allen
anomaly.
belt is between 200 to 300 kilometers off the coast of Brazil.
Okay. That's enough for the ISS to pass through, that's for sure.
Yeah, the ISS passes through that zone every fucking 95 minutes.
And
now,
say it's to do with the weakening magnetic shield, you know, because that's the reason why that anomaly's there and causing it to dip down.
but what gets me is this. What I just read to you guys, all right, about if you lived at altitude, right, you get more problems with radon concentration, radiation. At high altitude on Earth, if you lived up in the Appalachian Mountains, you glowing like a motherfucker. Okay?
Yeah.
You glowing like a son of a bitch. That's what if you lived up there all your life. But if you on the ISS, when they turn off the light, your teeth should be glowing. All right?
This is true even for aeroplane, you know, people, an air stewardesses,
exactly.
certain people they'll have a certain concentration in their body per year from just flying in a plane, you know, so.
But get this. You've ever heard of people, we've all heard the term when people say they get air sick, right? They get nauseous, right? Think about this. Yeah. We can't say radiation doesn't exist because it fucking does. But let's just say at high altitude, when you're on a plane flying from wherever you're flying from, if you've ever gotten sick, if you know somebody who gets air sick, they ain't fucking sick because they're in an aluminum tube flying at fucking 520 miles an hour. They're sick because of fucking radiation exposure.
I mean, that could be a possibility, but there's usually like vertigo reasons for that. That causes nausea.
Think about what the ingredients of Dramamine are, because that's what they give you.
Yeah.
Dramamine, or some other fucking air sick or nausea medicine. That's what they give you. They give the same shit that they give chemotherapy patients. So here you are up in the plane. You're not feeling too good. You're thinking, oh, I just hate flying because the gravity's just fucking with me and shit. And you know, I don't like doing this. What do you mean you don't like? Oh, you mean you don't like being exposed to fucking 100 X-rays for fucking 4 hours during your flight? That's what you mean. Because
yeah, I understand what you mean.
If this doctor's saying that no astronaut has ever been diagnosed with space radiation sickness ever since 2001. That means, so you tell me how it is. 10 Peak, Scott Kelly, all those people who've been up there for over 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. They ain't puking their brains out and shitting their fucking pants after they get off that camera. Are they really crossing their arms and holding their fucking stomach because they got to take a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, really, how is it that if the ISS is at 240 fucking miles and astronauts have never been diagnosed with space radiation sickness, how is it that people flying in a fucking plane at 35,000 feet can get sick? It ain't from air sickness. It ain't from altitude. It ain't from speed. They're confirming this. But the key is that how much of is it? Because if you got a plane of 240 people and maybe 3 people are getting sick, that means that the ionizing radiation that's in the atmosphere, in the stratosphere, where they're flying at 523 miles an hour, is literally at a high energy level than the rest of everybody else on the plane.
Well, I would like to just slightly disagree. I think it's a possibility, surely, but motion sickness and what Dramamine does, it is a little different than what you're speaking of. It's very possible, though, that pilots who have been up there for so long, 200 flight hours, they could have, because what radiation seems to do is it's a residual thing. It's not something that gives you a direct sickness unless you're getting such a blast of it.
This is what I mean. If they're getting astronauts should have a very high residual reading in their body and they haven't, and just by that statement,
Exactly.
Robert read, it negates them being up in space. What it does is it gives it a genuine appeal for those people that are up there flying and working in these aircraft, serving everyone else. They're the ones that are actually getting the higher dose because they're up there in a longer period. And when Tim Peake's doing his little trip into space, in the parabolic 747, doing his loop, doing that. That's basically all he's getting when he's up there, I'd say.
Now, something I want everyone to pay attention to. I clicked on space radiation effects on humans. I clicked on ionizing radiation in space. I clicked on ISS radiation experiments. They all go to this one fucking website. Okay? Now, everyone has to ask themselves, and I don't want to hear no ignorant damn responses. Oh, well, maybe just the web page is down. Bullshit. Because 6 months ago, this same fucking shit was up. And I called them and asked them, where's the information on your website regarding radiation, the effects on humans? This is the National Space Biomedical Research Institute. When I go to their website, they don't even have this document on there.
That's interesting.
So my final conclusion was this. Okay, wait a minute. If you don't even have this research on your website, then I can only come to one conclusion. Ain't nobody going to fucking space. Because you can't write about space radiation or ISS radiation experiments or ionizing radiation in space. And that's why I started getting focused on Van Allen. Because this guy was the grandfather. I mean, literally, he was the pioneer behind radioactive everything in the fucking atmosphere and in space. And that quote you just read reveals that he falsified his research. Period. This guy, okay, claims, and let me show you this damn document right here. This guy claimed to have launched this rocket, 3 feet. It's a 3-foot rocket. It's not as big as you think it is. Okay. Now, when you look at this, right? Let me see if I can bring this up here. Okay. I'm going to provide everybody with these links as well. When you look at this didn't launch from the ground. He put this shit on a balloon.
Nice.
All right. He called it a raccoon. When I first found out about it, I thought the dude was just racist as hell because I thought he was just had something against black people. But I realized that the name raccoon. I realized that the name raccoon came from rocket and balloon. I thought because he was in Iowa, it was 1950s, he was racist as fuck. So I thought, okay, name it raccoon. You know? That's what I thought. My bad. I want to take that back. That's not what it was named.
Oh, that's great.
But this is a 3-foot rocket that he claimed to put on a balloon. Here goes the nose cone temperature probe, right? You got the subcarrier oscillators, the low power transmitters, the external temperature gauge, right? And the Geiger counter is in the middle. All right? It's a 3-foot rocket. All right? He claimed to get this fucking rocket into space at 20.
What altitude?
No, I'm gonna tell you. He said he launched the balloon, high altitude balloon, attached a rocket to it on a tether. The balloon gets the max altitude, whatever that was. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say back in the 1950s, I think they could get somewhere around maybe 150,000, 200,000 feet, just below the Kármán line, just below the Kármán line. Okay. Now a 3-foot rocket, that's not a big fucking rocket. That's not a big rocket. It doesn't have a lot of fuel either. So maybe it's got maybe a minute or two of fuel, but it's not going very far. He claimed to get one of these rockets to 2,400 kilometers, dude. That's over 1,300, dude. That's over 1,300 fucking miles.
That's ridiculous.
1,300 miles. That's what he said. That's what he said in one of his letters, bro. Let me see if I can fucking find the letter.
Oh my god.
Because it was a Western Union fucking telegraph. All right, here you go. Ionizing radiation at altitudes of 2,000 to 20,000 nautical miles. Pioneer 1. Okay? Pioneer 1.
They can't do that with ICBMs, can they? So how
Yeah,
can they do
now
it
get
with some shitty thing like that?
the date of this document, okay? This is a lie. This is all bullshit. Because this shit was done October 11th, 1958. Now, you guys know my motto. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Here's the document right here in black and fucking white. I didn't draft it up. It's off the University of Iowa's fucking website. I didn't put it there. I didn't hack in to do it. All right? There'll be a lot of people who say, oh, that's all bullshit. Robert's fucking trying to fool us. No, I'll show you. I ain't trying to fool anybody. Okay? So get this. Let me pull up this doc. Oh, man, come on. Don't fuck me like this, man. Come on, dude. Oh, dude. Failed.
Oh man, Google's going after you.
Oh, shit. Well,
It's that
this
Windows
document I
10,
wanted to
man.
show you guys is the Upper Atmosphere Research Report. It's dated August of 1954. Okay? Let's see if I can find this shit somewhere else, man. Damn. That sucks, dude. They didn't want me to see that shit. I got the document saved though, so I'm not worried about it.
Well, you know, the way I think about it now is, you know, it's very possible that he did fraud the results because they
Possible.
needed space. Hold on. They needed. It's just the way I talk. They needed space to be hyper dangerous, so that commercial corporations would not be trying to go up there until they figured it out. That's the way that I see it, and that's why it's been misrepresented.
They didn't know. When you talk about space, we need to define that. Because
Yeah.
I
don't think humans have been higher than 450 miles.
I don't think nothing goes beyond 110 kilometers. That's just below
The
400,000.
Kármán line. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you talk about space, I don't think they could ever fucking get there. I don't think they could get to
the Kármán line
outer.
exists. Yeah.
No, the Kármán line exists, but I believe that was the limit, meaning that you couldn't go any further than that.
Engine stopped working. That's what it says.
Yeah, exactly. You had to be just below that, because if you try to go any further, shit's just gonna blow up. You ain't gonna get there. You ain't gonna get beyond that. So for me, it's not about if he possibly did. He fucking definitely did. He definitely falsified his research, because according to the U.S. Navy Research Laboratory report, August of 1954, if I can get this fucking document to come up, they did over 24 rocket tests, high altitude. High altitude. Oh, this Navy All Hands magazine, dude. Damn. Project Vanguard, all that bullshit. They never got anything 73 miles. Nothing. They never got anything. This is in 1954.
Yeah.
1954. It was a 164-page fucking report, bro. They never got shit beyond 73 miles. Nothing.
Yeah.
Period.
Most likely it's another density.
So when this guy says, okay, when this guy says ionizing radiation at altitudes to 2,000 to 20,000 nautical miles, come on, dude. He didn't discover no fucking radiation belts at these altitudes. He didn't get to that. There's no way. You trying to tell me that this guy could launch a 3-foot rocket on a balloon from the football field of the University of Iowa in 1953, but the fucking Navy and the Army couldn't get anything to the same altitude using a fucking V2 rocket or its sister, because they were building their own rockets to get to high altitude. Either the shit took off and it exploded before it got to max out apogee, or it reached a specific limit, which was 73 miles, came back down, and it just fucking disintegrated. 73 miles, man. That's 10 miles above the Kármán. 10 miles.
Yeah.
They had been doing this shit constantly since the 1950s. And then
and you
all
know
of a
what's
sudden,
interesting about that 73 miles? That go fast rocket gets exactly to 73 miles, and it seems like it
exactly,
hit
and that's in the
something.
fucking 21st century, dude.
Yeah, and
21st
that was
century.
recent. A lot of people tried to say that that footage it was a yo-yo D-spin device on it, but it absolutely was not. There's footage of yo-yo
Absolutely
D-spin
not.
devices, and
Absolutely
they
not.
behave very differently. This seems like it hit a different density
It whacked
of
into something.
fluid, or
You could hear
yeah,
the sound almost of
Phoom.
that. Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
absolutely.
this shit is just blatantly insulting and absurd. Because here's the deal: if when I was listening to Charlie Bolden yesterday, he was doing a conference. I was watching it on C-SPAN.
God, that
He was
guy.
saying he was saying how we spent 40 years just to even get fucking probes to Mars to just monitor shit, right? Take us 40 years because we keep advancing in technology. You tell me how in fucking 1953 this jackass James Van Allen, professor of physics at University of Iowa, can fire off a rocket without the fucking military's permission on a football field at university, get it to 2,400, 10,000 kilometers, 20,000 miles, whatever the fuck it may be, on a balloon, right? Using a balloon to do it. And then 10 years later, you're telling me in one fucking decade, somehow we got this epiphany and we were endowed with this advanced fucking technical knowledge to say, okay, let's put 3 motherfuckers on a Saturn rocket and fucking shoot their ass to the moon. That's 258,000 miles away.
Yeah. And
Come
in
on, dude.
1961, yeah, in
19,
1961,
like
he's
this is
saying it's
that's what I'm
impossible,
saying. That's what I'm
impossible.
saying. This
Yeah.
document is dated 1958. So 10 years later, we sent people to the fucking moon, and one word that they were gonna blow the fuck up after they got off the damn launch pad.
Yeah.
Come on,
I
dude.
mean, there were Russian tests when they were sending monkeys and dogs up there. They were coming back liquefied. Like these animals were coming back just as goop
This
because
is
they were putting up
absurd,
as
dude.
high as they were.
This is all bullshit. This
Yeah.
is false data. This is all fabricated fucking data. Period. Look what he says. He says, Anton Electronic Laboratories reported that the chamber was filled to 13.6 atmospheres on September 10, 1958. Calibration took place on 2nd October. If the gauge pressure decreased exponentially with time, the time constant of the chamber would be 10 days. I mean, this is just all technical bullshit, but I mean, I want to show the simplicity of this. Ain't
Well,
nothing.
you can see how he's
I mean, look at this.
contradicting himself through the years, with his different quotes and his different research and such. I really
Absurd.
do I'm really confident that they just misrepresented it completely so that corporations did not get involved with wanting to get up there. That's why you see SpaceX and Virgin now just hitting something when they get up there, crashing, blowing up. Nobody's getting anywhere, it seems. So, yeah, I tend to agree.
Dude, they ain't no radiation. They ain't no. I'm not saying that there's not radiation trapped over the South Atlantic. I'm not saying there is, because get this, what we're going to do on the next show, part 2, what we're going to do with part 2 for Van Allen is I'm going to show you guys this fucker's history. He was a former lieutenant commander. He got promoted to commander in the Navy. During the upper atmospheric nuclear tests they were doing, the detonations, this dude was on 6 different fucking Navy ships in the North Pacific, South Pacific, South Atlantic. And when I'll show you the chart of the dates and timelines where they were setting that shit off up in the atmosphere, he actually developed the firing fuse for those bombs. He was testing a new device. He was building a new firing fuse for the U.S. Army, all right, for the war. And they set off all these detonations, these hydrogen detonations, and trapped that radiation up in the atmosphere. So the South Atlantic anomaly, that the so-called claimed Van Allen radiation belts that are dipping down 200 kilometers off the coast of Brazil,
Could
is
be
not
man-made.
200 kilometers. It's actually lower than that, but it's a result of that fucking, those detonations the Navy was actually recording and observing during that from the 1940s to the 1960s. Because
And
I
that
think that
Van Allen was present for,
he
as
was
you
present for
mentioned.
all of them. There was
Yes,
no
he
fucking
was.
recorded radiation during that time frame. When they set off those bombs, right? Guess what? After they stopped setting off those bombs, Van Allen goes back, gets out of the Navy, goes back to the University of Iowa, becomes the head of the physics department, and then he starts launching these rockets to test the radiation up in the fucking
Okay,
atmosphere
I
after they had
see.
already fucking blew that shit up in the sky.
And I mentioned last night before I came across any of this information a year and a half ago, I was watching that documentary Trinity and Beyond, with all the nuclear explosions. And when we got to the point where they were showing Operation Fishbowl and the other upper atmosphere tests, I like freaked out, paused the movie, like went dug into crazy research. I'm like, why would they do that? The fallout would just stay within the ionosphere. It would seep down into certain areas. Like my
No,
mind
it
just went
stayed,
crazy on it. Made no
it stayed
sense to
trapped
me.
up there.
Made no
It
sense
stayed
to me.
trapped up there. It
I think
stayed up
so.
there trapped. It
Yeah.
stayed up there trapped. I'm not saying there's no radiation up there, but I'm telling you here right now, there's a reason why they did that. And Van Allen's papers actually provide some proof, some evidence on why they went through those nuclear upper atmospheric tests. Because I'm of the understanding now that, and I know this shit sounds far-fetched, but I think they knew when they were launching the rockets that there was some sort of fucking ceiling. They knew it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Theodore von Karman and Henry Lorentz and Einstein and all those guys, they all got together in Austria. And they were talking about, of course, the space and shit like that. And they wanted to know, hey, we've been launching these rockets. What's going on here? The Germans have been launching these V2s, but they keep hitting something. So all this research was shared. And here's what I think, because the US wasn't the only one to do this upper atmospheric testing. Russia was doing this
Yeah.
shit too.
Same time. Yeah. Yeah.
The Indians were doing it. The
It was
Pakistanis, everybody was doing this shit.
from what I understand, it was from 57 until about 62.
Yep, they were all doing it.
And that was when they came back from Antarctica, by the way.
Well, here is my conclusion based on all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were trying to blow through the fucking first layer. They knew there were multiple layers, but they were trying to blow through the solid layer.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to blow fucking through it. And I'm gonna tell you here right now, that fucking scares me, bro, to even think about that. You want to know why? Because had they succeeded, we probably wouldn't be alive today to talk about this shit.
Oh, it's madness. It's men with power doing it.
They were literally trying to blow us all the fuck up.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I first saw that footage. I was like, are you kidding me? Why would they ever do something like, even if it was, see, I was still in the glow paradigm when I saw it. I was like, they're going to blow a hole through the ionosphere. Like I knew there was danger to it.
That's absolutely crazy, dude. Because when you look at these explosions, these hydrogen explosions they were setting off, when you look at the very apex, the top of that plume created, it forms a fucking perfect dome mushroom, dude.
It does. It looks like it's spreading out, like it's hitting something and it's spreading
not going
out.
higher. It's not going high. It reaches a limit and then it spreads out.
And you see the center point of the concentration, and then you see the flames spread outward, like a sprite or an elf.
Exactly.
With
it's
lightning.
hitting a layer. It's hitting something completely, and if that was meant to go out into a vacuum, imagine that being a vacuum. That would have been sucked straight out if that was a
That's
vacuum.
what I'm saying. I think that they tried to blow us all the fuck to hell.
It's madness.
And they were using, and get this, if they were using hydrogen bombs, and then they created that Van Allen, his actually technology, what he developed, became part of the fucking Manhattan Project. They're like, shit, you can't do it with a fucking huge hydrogen bomb. You need something more powerful. You need something more powerful. They were trying to create a more powerful fucking high energy detonation, okay? Saying, fuck, we can't do it with hydrogen, man. And then eventually they said, we got to stop this shit. They instituted the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, right, for upper atmosphere, and they started doing that shit underground. They started doing the shit underground and in the water, in the oceans.
Yep.
I'm now of the belief these motherfuckers in the government want to get the fuck off this planet as bad as we do. They're trying to do a fucking prison break, man. They're trying to, hey, They're literally working on a prison break.
Yeah, man.
I say they can't get out the top,
They're
so
like,
they
shit,
well,
we
we're
can't get
right down below in the water, right down where the density gets really heavy at the bottom. We'll have a go down there. Oh, we can't get much further than that. We'll just give up, and that's what it seems like.
And now we're just going to be wardens of the prison. That's what it
Now,
seems like.
if John is still listening, and I hope he is, there is he don't believe this. He don't believe in radiocarbon dating. Now, here's what they say about this shit, because John is into genomics and DNA science, and it say here
No, this
that
is quantum mechanics.
they say here the presence of radioactive carbon-14 in living organisms actually forms the basis of radiocarbon dating of organic material due to the fact that the levels of C14 in plants and animals match ambient levels in the atmosphere at the time of their death.
No,
Afterward, however, the C14 decays with a half-life of around 5,730 years. Whoa, 57. Wait,
that's right. That's right. That's right. You got it.
I know,
So,
I know what you
wait
were
a
ready to
second.
say too.
So wait a
I know what
second.
you were ready to say. I know what
So
you were
wait
ready
a
to say.
second. So if now this
Oh,
is
shit.
we're
I
just
know
talking
what you're
about
gonna say.
radiocarbon now. So if the whole Earth was radiocarbon, it would all be gone in a million years.
I knew you were gonna go there with that shit.
And why are they finding radiocarbon in diamonds, in coal, in
Yep.
not even fossilized bones? I mean, there's still bones, so it's preposterous.
Now look. Now here's another piece of debunked information. This John has been saying this all along. When scientists, no, I'm not gonna say scientists. Let me take that back, because
Thank you.
archaeologists and paleontologists and these fucking dinosaur hunters, they ain't scientists. When they claim, and geologists, when they claim that, oh well, this has to be 400,000 years old, or a million years old, 60 million years old. Look what they say here. They're saying through radiocarbon dating. Through this method, the age of a sample up to around 45,000 years can be fairly accurately determined. So if you guys ever hear, if you ever watch a Discovery Channel or History Channel and they talk about something older than this, okay, that exists, you got to call bullshit immediately on the fucking TV. Because according to this, and this comes down to what we've been trying to show everybody with quantum mechanics and quantum sciences, is that you can only see to a particular level. So if we can only measure accurately, measure a sample up to 45,000 years. So
No.
so why the hell would you want to teach some? Why would John's kids, teachers, tell them that dinosaurs are millions of years old when the fucking limit is actually 45,000 years?
It's not even a limit, because if there, do you know? Remember Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah.
Well, see, a radioactive decay event is a probabilistic event. That means it's quantum mechanical. So if you're going to say that something was that old, then you have to provide the person that was there that documented seeing this. Because if no one documented the path information, if there was no knower, then there was no, what are you dating? Whatever it is, wood or anything, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
In this reality. So the whole thing is a friggin' fiasco.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
I mean, this is crazy. I'm going to share this with everybody because everyone needs to see this shit. This is just comical. I mean, come on. We can only measure accurately, they claim, to up to 45,000 years. So why the hell are you telling me things are fucking hundreds of thousands or millions of years old?
well, Robert, we already just said that that's baloney right there. Plus, see, with radiocarbon, you can only date organic things like, wood, living things that have carbon in it. What they say is through other radiometric dating, not radiocarbon dating, that they can go back further. You understand?
Yeah.
But they're still in the same vice. Quantum mechanics implodes that nonsense. Implodes it. It's over.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. I'm now convinced that Friedrich Nietzsche was right. And he says, I beseech you, my brethren, to remain faithful to the earth. Do not believe those who speak of extraterrestrial hopes, poisonous they are, whether they know it or not. He says we should not be fucking wasting our time focused on what's out in the sky, going further out, away.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned Nietzsche because he
You
actually,
understand?
the famous quote. Well, absolutely. The famous quote though that we hear from him is "God is dead. Where has God gone?" The next paragraph says we've pushed him out to the limits of infinity, basically talking about heliocentricity. He goes on and speaks about Copernicus and the Copernican revolution. So for this quote that you just mentioned, to talk about how ridiculous it is to focus on aliens and anything external is so on point.
This is
Nietzsche
just
knew.
and when you read Van Allen talking about how dangerous it is to organic tissue to be out in space and you need to have some serious fucking protection. Come on, man. Really? People still want to fucking believe that there are people out there 200 plus miles fucking in the sky? If there is something out there, there ain't no people up there. There's fucking robots. Just what I showed you. They got NASA's got an entire fucking robotic program. The Robonaut. It can do it can do all that maintenance and testing shit on the ISS if it was really up there. But ain't
Yep.
no people up. There ain't no people up there going through fucking 1,000. Put it this way, in 95 minutes, that's one orbit, right? If the ISS is up there and there's people up there, that means that in 95, let me see, how long does it take to do a fucking full body X-ray? I think it would take about 5-10 minutes to do a full body X-ray, right? Full body. You would be going through 50 fucking X-rays every fucking day for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. When you get down on the ground, you don't know if you're shitting or pissing because both of them are liquid coming out of your fucking body. You fucked up. I've seen people on chemotherapy. I worked in an oncology department. I seen somebody go through fucking 3 months of chemo, dude, and they just couldn't even hold their fucking bowels, man.
Awful, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me that the radiation up in space is not as intense, is less intense than somebody going through chemotherapy? Bullshit.
Yeah, you're
There
right.
is no
Bullshit,
space.
bro.
There is no space.
Agree.
We already said that. We already said that. I'm not saying radiation doesn't exist. I'm telling you, ain't no way it's fucking up in the sky
No, that's
at
it.
the
Yeah.
intensity that they say it is.
Who said radiation doesn't exist?
No, there's some people who say
There's
that.
some,
There's
yeah.
some people who have said it. They
Oh,
have said it.
There's people say it's a
I can
hoax
go to
and
my
stuff.
stove and turn on a burner. That's radiation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I provided that link for everybody. John, go for your 25 minutes because I know you got to go pick up the little one. And let me stop
Okay.
sharing right now.
Okay.
Let me stop.
Let me share.
And John's got a rebuttal for somebody that asked him a question. He's going to go through that, and then we'll probably take some questions, and then that's it. We're going to call it a day. We might do another hangout maybe tomorrow. It'll probably be like maybe Friday. But this is probably going to end up being a 3-4 part series. We're going to do on Van Allen and radiation. That's what we're going to do. Because I didn't cover everything, of course. There's a shitload of more information. But John, take it away, bro. You need to do something like that?
Yeah, go ahead and present me.
Okay, hang on a second.
Hey, I just want to say real quick, I appreciate you having me on, Robert. It's really great talking with everybody.
Absolutely.
I do have to take off, though, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. I'll be around. You guys take care.
Yeah, definitely, man. Take care, bro.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, man, for coming in.
You got it, brother. Peace.
Take care, bro. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's up on the screen up there. All right, that looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's up.
Yeah. Before I left the other day, I was talking about. I was just making note that Jesus is the creator. There's only one creator, and that's it. And while I was leaving, somebody was saying, "Well, I believe it, but you have to prove it. Prove it. We're in the proof here." And I had already left, and I couldn't say anything. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I think we touched on some of these, through the past, 8 or 10 videos. So I'm going to touch on these briefly, and then end up with something that might interest a lot of people out there. And I'll get to that here in a minute. So, like I said, the God proofs are I have 4 of them here, and we'll go through each one real quick. So you guys know the first one. We got into an argument about this information thing before, but let's go over this here. So this is a scientific law. This is my scientific law. Information code or software is only ever sourced by intelligent agency without exception. So, and here's the null hypothesis in support of that. Nature or natural phenomenon causation cannot create algorithmic cybernetic coding and decoding schemes. That's DNA, and that's the information in DNA. And this is what set everyone off in our discussion on information. Was what Dr. Weiner said about information. He said, information is information, neither matter nor energy. So some people fell off the reservation with that one. And I'd just like to ask them with this right here. See, this is information right here. So look out, there's a tiger behind you. So that's information, right? So if you're saying that this is matter or energy, then my question to you is, if this is information and it's matter, please post the chemical formula or structure. And or if information is energy, then you have to post the millielectron volts or joules or kcals for this statement right here. So if somebody can do that, go ahead and email Robert, or if somebody on the panel can do that for me, I'd appreciate that. You'd have better chances of showing a married bachelor. So that's my number 1 proof. And I have the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis here. If anyone wants to refute that, you can go ahead and stop this and go ahead and read through this. I think I've done this before, so I'm not going to go into it. We also talked about the laws of thermodynamics before. The first law, total amount of mass energy in the universe is constant. That is, matter or energy cannot be created or destroyed. If you combine that with the second law of thermodynamics, the amount of energy available for work is running out. The universe is moving inexorably to maximum entropy, or a heat death. So, in conclusion, if the total amount of mass energy is constant and the amount of usable energy is decreasing, then the universe will end. It's the heat death of the universe. So if we have a beginning, or better said, if we have an end, then there must have been a beginning. And nature can't create itself, because that would mean it existed prior to its existence, which is absolute absurdity. So here's some proofs right here. Professor Valenkin provides some here. You don't really need this. We already went over it up here. They're just telling you the same thing I just said. And we already went over Professor Roger Penrose's the creator and the creator's aim must have been so precise as to make it from a natural occurrence absolute preposterous ludicrousness. So that's a pretty good one. A bonus, I got a syllogism here. So code has information such as book Morse code instructions. They all have information. Information has authors, which we can always show is the case. DNA is a code, therefore DNA has an author. This logically, there's no way out. No way out here. And of course, the last one and you can't get around this. I mean, anyone that comes up against these four, they're checkmated 6 ways from Sunday. We've already went over most of these. I'll just summarize it by saying, in order for matter to exist, there must be a knower first. If there's a quantum mechanical law that encapsulates quantum mechanics, this is it right here. I have, like I said, somewhere in the vicinity of 1,500 to 1,800 experiments. If anyone has an issue with that, we can go through them. All I have to do is really bring up the delayed choice quantum eraser, and that would end matters pretty quickly. And as we said, Werner Heisenberg knew it. All these guys knew it. He's the pioneer of quantum mechanics. Of course, you know, known best for...
Aaron asked a question. He said, who's the knower?
Jesus Christ. The initial knower. He's the ontological primitive. You have to have an initial knower to have matter exist. So like I said, we went over the Werner Heisenberg. The first gulp from the natural glass of natural science will turn you into an atheist, but the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. Couldn't have said that better myself. So those are the 4 proofs. Now, that establishes a creator. Your next question, the logical follow-on question to that is, well, who is it? And number one, there is only one who ever claimed that I've run across that said that they were the creator of the universe, not the product of it. That's number one. Number two, see, Scripture is unique as a historical documentation goes. And the reason why is, and it's a biggie, there's something that you can test. Excuse me. There's something that you can test in this historical documentation, and it's prophecy. That's what makes it stand out. That is to say that if our presupposition is that God created the universe and us, he must be outside his creation. Does it make sense? It's like a programmer creating a game. You know, the game programmer is not a part of the game. He's outside the game. It's the same sort of analogy. So with that presupposition, then he should know the end from the beginning. And he even says it in Scripture, that he knows the end from the beginning, right? So we go to prophecy. Now, I could put there's about 1,800 that I've come up with, somewhere in that vicinity of prophecies in Scripture. Now, I pulled one out, and we can go over many of them, but it's really over with this one. So if anyone's unfamiliar, the book of Daniel is filled to the brim with prophecies. Current ones for that time frame, that was around 600 to 500 BC. And future prophecies, the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation dovetail with each other, because Daniel was so beloved, and Daniel's just an outstanding book in general, and an unbelievable individual. But the book of Daniel settles matters, really, for me. When I first come across this, I was just gobsmacked by this. So let's go over this real quick. So like I said, Isaiah declaring the end from the beginning, and it even says it right here, Isaiah 46:10. And from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So he knows the end from the beginning. So Daniel chapter 9. You guys get a chance, go through this. These are the most important eschatology prophecies or eschatology domains in the entire Bible. Even Jesus Christ in the New Testament points you to these, Daniel 9, 25, 26, and 27. These scriptures, these passages in scriptures, as the end-all be-all to understand end-time prophecy. However, 9:25 stands out for another reason. So let's go through it. Daniel
Hey,
9:20. Go ahead.
Aaron's got a question from somebody else.
Go ahead.
It was, is a plant gathering information when it uses the sun's light to grow?
No, there's no information there unless you
Whoa,
said.
whoa, whoa. What'd you say?
You're gonna let me
You said there's
finish?
no information there?
I know this is off subject. This is off my subject, but I'll go ahead and answer it. All right.
I said
There's
off the
no
subject of information.
Yeah, there is no information coming from the sun unless you think that the sun sent intelligent messages to stupid atoms so they can create all the enzymes able to accomplish photosynthesis. Is that what you think?
I didn't ask the question, Aaron did.
Yeah, tell her there's about 17 enzymes, that is functional proteins like nanobots, that you must have for photosynthesis. So
Quirky Yui says, did the Earth give birds information to travel north and south?
no, they don't communicate with each other.
Whoa. Wait, the birds don't communicate with the Earth, or the Earth don't communicate with the
No,
birds?
they don't communicate. They don't communicate. There's no information flowing.
Oh, dude.
There's no language. Birds
You're
don't.
really asking for me to really rip into you right now,
Birds,
dude.
boy, I'll tell you, make my day.
You really, come on, man. I mean, dude, please don't tell me. Don't be like Lord Stephen Christ and say that you God, bro.
I didn't say that I was God.
I don't want you to go
Where'd that
sideways.
come from?
I don't want you to go side. But, bro,
Where'd
come
that
on.
come from? Now listen, we're
No,
going
what
on
I'm
the subject
saying-
here.
here's the thing. You're saying that birds are receiving no information from anything else.
No,
but
I'm
no,
not.
travel north.
Listen, we're going off a subject here.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's do this and then come back to that.
Talk about your Jesus Bible.
Okay. We'll come back to that. That's no problem. I have no issue with that. But that's off topic for right now. So Daniel 9:25. Know therefore, now remember, the book of Daniel is written about 600 to 500 BC. The angel Gabriel has just come to Daniel and has given him this, because Daniel has just prayed for to help his people, to release them back into Jerusalem after 70 years. So this is what Gabriel gives to Daniel. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem, because Jerusalem's in ruins about 200 miles to the east, 70 years ago, that from going forth from the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. Okay, if you understand this, that from and unto, this scripture just gave us an equation, right? From and unto. So we got to mark the from and unto. So, and remember, it says to rebuild the city and to the king, right? So these are 70 weeks of years. We in our current time are in the interval. I don't want to get into that. We can talk about that at some other point. Verse 25 is astounding because the angel Gabriel is predicting when Jesus will ride into Jerusalem and pronounce his kingship for the first time, or the triumphal entry. This just happened to be April 6th, 32 AD. In Zechariah in the Old Testament also it says, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly, and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt, the foal of an ass. So when Jesus is pronounced king, he does it himself. That is the day. So thy king cometh. So let's see how accurate Gabriel was with this message. 500 years before it happened. So we'll continue. 7 weeks and 62 weeks is 69 weeks. 69 weeks times 7 days in a week times 360 days in a year. See, the Bible from Genesis to Revelation uses 360-day years. So that's our standard. So that equals 173,880 days from the decree to rebuild Jerusalem to the Jesus triumphal entry. So The decree to rebuild Jerusalem was ordered by Artaxerxes Longimanus, 14 March 445 BC. You can resource this from Sir Robert Anderson, and the book is called The Coming Prince. This guy was the head of Scotland Yard, and he was knighted, so this guy is certifiable. That book is an outstanding book, by the way, The Coming Prince. So, moving on. From 445 BC to 32 AD is 173,740 days. From March 14th to April 6th is 24 days. So that gives us 173,764 days. That's pretty close, but no an enchilada, right? So, but what, we forgot something. We forgot the leap year days. How many? Well, that would be exactly 116 days. So 173,764 days plus 160 days is booyah, right on the mark. So
wait, here's where I have a problem.
Do you feel the gravity of this prophecy?
No, I don't.
You don't feel it. He
No.
told you 500 years before to the exact day.
See, John, what people may be missing here right now is that they didn't hear the conversation before we went live and what you said about mathematics.
Yep.
They didn't hear that.
Well, this is just simple math.
There are a few Muslim guys who might be listening, and guys who know me, where they'll use the Islamic calendar and show you nearly the same thing, and instead of your 365 days, they're going off of 9 months.
No. Well, it really doesn't matter because I broke it down to days.
What was that?
I broke it down to days, and it doesn't matter. We're going from God's word, from Genesis to Revelation. It's all 360 days. 360-day years.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter anyway.
So let me ask this, because I know you got to keep going.
No, I'm still good for right now.
You're reading from the Bible.
Yep.
Reading Daniel, but you don't believe religion.
It's not religion. I already told you that about 50 times.
All right. So I got Victoria out here in chat. She's saying the Bible is God's word.
That's right.
Really?
Yep.
And if I want to speak my own truth, I don't need nobody to deliver my message for me.
500 years before it happened, to the day. No way out.
You're talking to people who were literally functionally and just illiterate, and you're telling me
no way out.
They're going to be able to interpret. They're going to be able to interpret.
And and listen to this one. Here's another prophecy. Listen to this one.
Information given
to them. Listen to this one though. Why was Jerusalem destroyed in 70 AD? Listen to this. And when he has come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee around, and keep thee in on every side. And they shall lay even with the ground, and thy children with thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another. Why? This is why. Because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. He held them accountable to know this. And they didn't.
You know what? Those are great words also spoken by William fucking Shakespeare.
Did you see that?
Let me tell you something, man.
Did you see that? Whoa, he held them accountable to know this from the book of Daniel. 500. Listen, this is just one of about 1,800 prophecies that are so detailed. This one just blows me away. How can you reconcile this? What's your
Hey,
response to
Super. Oh, okay, let me repeat what Super Tampo says. He
that?
says it's futile to base all truth on one source.
It's not just one source. It's $66.
It's 66 what?
$66.
66 bucks.
Yeah, 66 books.
No, what he's saying is it's futile to base all truth, meaning the Bible, all the
No,
books
it's not. That's
from
not
one
one
source.
source. I just told you that's 66 books.
Yeah, but who communicated the information for those 66 books to be
God.
created?
God.
Well, that's what Super Tampo is saying.
Well, he's the creator. We already established that. How can he support his claim? Are you saying the creator doesn't know and he's not a good source? It's preposterous.
Yeah,
So
man.
his is just a philosophical claim. How does he support that?
I agree with Super Tampo.
Well, of course you can agree based on what?
It's no.
Oh, you just say no based on what?
Look,
I'm just asking you to support your claim.
If you want to stick with what the Bible says in Genesis, where
Oh, I'm sticking with it.
basically it was supposed to be God saying, "Behold, man has become like us," right? To have
What
the
passage is that?
knowledge and the gift of knowledge and the ability to know good and evil.
Yeah.
So that means that people also have the ability to be all knowing.
No, they don't. That doesn't say that.
Why is that? Well, if we're supposed to be in God's image and everything comes from His one source, then we should be able to do the same thing.
No, that's not what it says.
It's not
what it
possible
says.
because
Why?
you could spend your entire life trying to learn every fucking thing, every piece of information that's here on this damn planet. Okay,
Yeah.
and you would. There's no way you would be able to comprehend that amount of information.
That's right. You're just human.
In a short time that you.
Yeah, because you're basing it off off of begging the question fallacy. You just made it up.
No, I didn't know. I didn't make it up. What I'm telling you is this: is that if all this information was put out back in 600 AD, you say, or BC, like you said, and it was all put out in these 66 books.
Well, no. That was over 2,000 years.
All the knowledge of humankind, of mankind.
He didn't give you all knowledge.
You're right. He didn't, because he doesn't possess it himself.
You couldn't.
Because
well then, you have to conclude that ink, paper, and glue molecules can author.
No, man, you can keep going back to that fucking bullshit ass
argument. That nature can create itself from nothing.
Intelligent machine going through artificial learning and machine learning.
Who created the machine?
No, I'm telling you, the way you build an artificial intelligence application.
Yeah, but you're an intelligent agent. You built it. That's right. My argument is intelligent agency.
I'm the intelligent agent. That machine will learn what I want it to learn.
Yeah, because you built it that way.
Yeah, but I could also build it to learn from every other person who will possibly come in contact.
Yeah, and you're an intelligent agent. So what's your point?
But that doesn't mean I'll have all the knowledge. The process could be reciprocal, meaning that I've got Martin, Victoria, Jerry, Robert, Mark, Aaron, everybody in there in chat, and I have a specific amount of knowledge and intelligence, and they have their own levels of knowledge and intelligence. I could design a machine to where we all exchange information and data, where what happens is that in the background, I end up developing and literally acquiring all of their intelligence at the same time as they're learning from all.
I don't know. What is your argument? What's your claim?
The argument is this: is that there is no one single source of all knowledge and intelligence.
There wouldn't have been an artificial intelligence, if you weren't here.
It's not God.
Yeah, it is God, and I just showed you.
It's not God. I think that this.
Well, you could say it's not, but you have nothing to support it.
Where we're at right now, I can tell you right now, God's learning a shitload from my fucking videos we're putting out.
Well, you can claim there's no God, but you don't have any support for it.
Well, and that's right. I can claim there's no God, and I don't have no support. I
That's
can't
right.
prove that one. I'll admit that one, but you can't prove there is a God.
I just did.
That's not proof. No,
I just
that's
did.
not. That's not proof.
I just did.
That's not proof.
Yeah. Well,
No,
how is it not proof?
It's not proof.
Yeah, that's all you could. You could just say not. So your defense is nah.
No, it's not a defense. I'm not on the defensive. God is dead.
Well, your claim is nah. Well,
No,
that's not a legitimate
I'm not
claim.
You can't prove something that
I just did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. Here they are. 1,
You didn't.
2,
Reading from the Bible ain't proof.
3.
Reading from the Bible ain't proof. Show me some other proof.
Yeah, it is.
Show me another proof.
Another one.
Yeah.
So you want another angle on it.
I don't want it from the Bible.
That's the only way it could. You're gonna have to take.
Show me another source of proof that's not from a book that's been changed 490 plus times over its life.
Okay. Get till her 5 minutes. I'll be in her 5 minutes. Go ahead. What did you say?
I want to see proof from another source that hasn't been changed 490.
No, it hasn't been changed, and the Bible is the most historical, reliable historical documentation on the planet.
You're telling me the Bible's never been changed?
I'm saying the Bible is the most reliable historical document on the planet by friggin' exponential magnitudes.
Okay, then I guess that's. I guess.
So why do I need another source?
Then there must be a problem with that book because, according to what happened at the Council of Nicaea, they burned probably 3,000.
The Council of Nicaea has nothing to do with Scripture. The Roman Catholic Church.
The Bible's about, John. You think that the Bible? You think that the Bible that you're reading from right now wasn't actually agreed upon and generated?
What do you mean agreed upon by who?
And put it into the mainstream based on what happened at the Council of Nicaea.
No. The Bible existed well before the Council of Nicaea.
I know that, but you don't have that version.
Yeah, we do. We have the books.
No, you don't have that version.
Yeah, we do. In fact, the Old Testament.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No
yeah,
one
I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You have the version that was agreed upon.
I have the Septuagint and the New Testament books. Yes, I do.
Bro.
And let me just state this before I go. If
the Bible you're reading from is not the Bible pre-Council of Nicaea.
What? Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Bro, I tell you what. When you have time for a vacation, I'm going to pay for your trip, and we're going to go to the fucking Vatican together, and you're going to see
Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church is not Christian.
Here we go, dude. Here we go. You won't believe how many more books that book.
The Roman Catholic Church is in Revelation 17. She's Babylon. She's a whore.
Okay.
So stop equivocating.
Okay, so what do they talk about? So what do they talk about?
So what?
What are they referencing when they talk about the mother of all books?
I don't. Who are they, and who's the mother of all books?
I'll tell you who they are. In the Quran, they talk about the mother of all books. You know what?
Listen.
You know what?
Hey, we'll pick this discussion up next time.
Okay, we will.
I gotta go pick up my daughter.
I know what book they're talking about.
I gotta go pick up my daughter.
Okay.
We gotta go. We'll deal with this next time.
Yeah, we will. We'll probably do something tomorrow.
Get your questions. Get all your points.
No, I have no questions. We're gonna debate this one.
Okay. I gotta go. I gotta bolt, man.
All right, brother.
All right,
See you, John.
See ya.
Later. So, and there were the two Roberts who were left.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I kind of take it from your point of view and John's point of view.
I'm not. See, my argument is not.
I heard a really interesting thing the other day, and it was coming from a different perspective, and it was nothing to do with the Bible, and it was to do with this chap talking to these Native American Indians, and what they were doing. They were saying about their grandfathers, and you know how close all those people are. And the story that they were going on about was kind of like a Genesis pre-flood story. So, and it was not. They weren't relating it to the Bible, at all. So I mean, I think there is a bit of weight with some of it, and some of it has been changed, and the words have been changed. But it is a hard one. It is a hard one.
Well, the thing for me is this: is that I've been to Rome, I've been to the Vatican's library, and I've read several of these doctrinal treaties, the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the I Ching, other pieces of literature.
Yep.
There's a master collection of material. And in the Quran, they talk about the mother of all books. If anyone didn't notice, you never read the Quran. The first parts of the Quran are actually the Old fucking Testament. The Torah. The Torah. That's the Old Testament. So if you've read the Bible, it would be smart to actually read the beginning parts of the Quran. Because the beginning parts of the Quran actually confirm and give you the confidence that what you're reading in the Old Testament could be true. Could be true.
Yeah.
That's why I've read both books. I became more aware and gained more knowledge reading the Quran, which allowed me to get a much better interpretation of what I was reading in the Old Testament of the Bible. But John's saying that what he's reading in the Bible is pre-Council of Nicaea. It's not. It's not. I don't know anybody who's got pre-Council of Nicaea Bible. I don't know anyone. The only entity I know has one is it's in Rome at the Vatican. And when you look at the 66 books of the Bible, and then you look at the surah, the number of surahs in the Quran, when the Quran talks about the mother of all books, they're talking about over 1,000 books put together in one. Put together in one. That's a lifetime of reading, Robert. That's just not fucking one calendar year, bro. I mean, come on. I mean, I know pastors and bishops and priests who still spending their lives trying to interpret specific sections of the Bible in the Quran and other doctrinal treatise books. Because there's so many different versions of it. There's so many different interpretations. There's so many disparate and contradicting pieces of information throughout the entire book that literally I actually had a pastor and a priest tell me, this guy's been in the cloth for over 60 years. He told me which sections of the Bible are actually out of order. They're not in the right order they should be. So how could you believe that a book you're reading is truth when it's not even? It's like picking up a book right now on Amazon that's fucking 20 chapters, and you start with chapter 1, and then you think you're gonna read chapter 2, but it says chapter 15, and you're thinking, what the fuck? Did I get a defective book? I need to send this shit back to Amazon because somebody put my book together wrong. That's what the Bible is, man. It's actually out of order. So if it's out of order, then you can't believe what it is you're reading completely. I'm not saying you can't believe it at all, but you can't believe it completely because it is not in the correct order. And the same goes for the Quran.
Yeah.
The Quran is actually out of order as well. Both of these books were written by the same people, Jewish scribes. I ain't got nothing against Jews, but you got to think about the method of the madness when they put these books together and decided, okay, this is how it's going to go down. This is how we're going to put it out. Because I'm thinking that at the Council of Nicaea, Islamic scholars were the only ones who weren't invited to this whole meeting. But when they talk about all these other books that were destroyed, that were not to be included in the Bible, you got to ask yourself, were these books actually used to put together other religious doctrine? Could the Quran be a culmination of books that were rejected by the Bible? Could the I Ching and the Bhagavad Gita be rejection of material they wouldn't put in the Bible. Because when you look at different religions, all right, you have all these problems with all these religions. You got Christians that have problems with Muslims. You got Muslims got problems with Christians. You got Hindus problem with Christians. You got you got all this shit. No two religions actually get along like they're fucking brother and sister, man, because they all believe something completely different that's being rejected by the other one. And a lot of people won't believe this, but the Quran is nearly identical to the fucking Old Testament. So how could a Christian reject Islam and the Quran when they never read the Quran? And if they did, they would see that the Quran is actually the Torah, the Old Testament. The Old Testament.
Wow.
How do I know this? Because I fucking read it every goddamn fucking year for 10 years.
Yeah, you get pretty knowledgeable with the book. If you
I
read it that
studied the
much.
Quran in its original Arabic, not the fucking dumbass English translation. I studied it in Arabic. And I didn't get my copy from the United States. I got a copy that's actually older than me. I learned Arabic. The Bible is not even supposed to be in English.
That's true.
At one time, it was in Arabic, and then Aramaic. And then somehow the Romans and Greeks decided to put it in fucking Latin. And then it became English. It is so convoluted, dude. And people say it's truth, it's truth, it's truth. Truth? Come on, dude. Let me show you. Give me one of your biggest books. Give it to me. Let me tear that fucker apart and glue it back together and put the chapters all fucked up. And then you tell me if you can understand what that book actually, what it says in that. If you could interpret to me what the story of that book is trying to tell you. You can't, because it's out of order. I want to have this conversation with her. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do, and not from an attack hostile point of view, but from a point of view that if we're going to argue about most of the literature we're putting out in documentation, we're proving this shit to be bullshit, and what they're putting out in the sciences and this research stuff, then what makes you believe that something back in 600 BC or AD could be truth? Because people were deceiving and defrauding each other back in those days as well. I don't worship anybody. I don't worship nothing. That's what Allison just asked me. What do I worship? I don't worship nothing or nobody. Nothing. I had a vision one day. You can say it was a dream or whatever. And before I heard someone call out, not even call my name out, and says, hey, it's your turn to go down there. And before I knew it, I was here. And it was the most profound experience I ever had, because I didn't have a choice to say yes or no. Someone just, it just calls. I don't know if they spoke to me. It just says, it's your turn to go. And I went, and I was gone. I didn't know what I was, where I was. I just heard it. But I don't worship nothing. Never did. At one time, you know, I believed I was worshiping something, but then I woke the fuck up and thought, what the hell am I doing? I can do this. I've been given the ability. Somehow it's within me to manifest my own thoughts, opinions, feelings, actions. If I work hard enough for something, I can create whatever I need materially. It's all there for me for the taking. It's all there for the taking. If you believe you need to get on your fucking hands and knees, to pray and look up in the sky and says, please save me, God, save your fucking self first. Because if you're going to keep waiting, save me, save me, save me, save me, if you're praying and you think about it hard enough, then yeah, you're going to be saved. Somebody ain't going to kick your ass that day because you thought about it really hard. That's fucking quantum science, baby. That's quantum science. They ain't got nothing to do with fucking God. And that whole idea, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I shall be amongst you, and whatever you so shall believe shall be. Guess what? Scientists call that shit quantum of consciousness. They did that experiment. Albert Einstein, Henry Lorentz, and 13 other physicists were conducting the same experiment, and they decided, okay, let's see if one of us doesn't believe what the scientific result is going to be from this experiment. Let's see if the result is the same. And they found out through a research paper that when 3 or more of them didn't agree what the outcome results were going to be, the scientific experiment failed. But when they all did agree, it happened exactly the way they believed it was going to happen. So you tell me, how is God being proven? Reading from a book that's out of order. That's like me, Robert. You're a plumber, right?
Yep.
I asked you to come fix the water heater or something like that, or the plumbing in my house. And you're like, well, hey, do you have the blueprints of where all this shit is located? I'm like, yeah, here they are. And I end up giving you a fucked up copy of it. Are you going to be able to fix my plumbing?
It's going to be a difficult job. Yeah, no, it's going to be
It'd be a difficult job. You're going to have to start ripping the fucking walls apart, aren't you? Right?
Yep.
But that's what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to say. Is that people are living their lives off of a book that's not even in the right order. The plans weren't drawn up correctly. But you're asking Robert Shortman to come in to say, hey, this is the direction your hot water runs in, this is the direction your cold water runs in. Oh yeah, and by the way, don't turn this fucking switch because it's gonna fuck up everything. So now Robert has to draft up the plans to show you how to operate the damn plumbing in your own house. Come on, dude. You don't need no Bible to tell you how to live. Just look inside yourself. You know exactly how to live. If you never read the Bible, never read the Quran or any religious book, you automatically, once you get a certain age, you could have been born in the fucking jungle. You would know what was right, what was wrong, based on observation. You would either copy what you saw or just develop your own methods and processes. Ain't nobody preach no word and put it in a fucking book to teach us how to live. Come on now.
Well,
I
think it's interesting.
We are all figuring it. No, see, and that's what Victoria, that's where you're wrong. I said I don't worship anything. So there is no self-worship. You either respect yourself or you don't. You either have confidence in your own abilities or you don't. You're either strong or you're weak. You're either intelligent or you choose to be ignorant. It's that simple. It really is that simple. You don't need a book to live. You could live by a specific rule and implement those rules and treatises and understandings in your life. But your life is your life. You decide when you live or die. Nobody decided how long you're going to live and how you should be living. Because if that's the case, shit, I could put a damn good book together on how to live your life. And it's either going to bomb or it's going to become a fucking bestseller for the next 100 years. But if you never knew I existed, would you believe it? Would you live by it? And that's what I'm getting at. There ain't no proof God exists or ever did. That's me saying this. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but that's what I understand. Not what I believe, but that's what I'm understanding. That's why I'm going after this. I got love for everybody out there. You're all geniuses. You just choose to be ignorant whenever you choose to be ignorant. But we're all geniuses. We're figuring this shit out together. Ain't nobody got the one fucking answer to solve everything. There is one answer, but there's multiple fucking pieces to this puzzle. Maybe Mark Server's right. Maybe the real reason of the flat earth is because they're hiding God. Well, if that's the case, I hope I don't fucking catch him with a fucking beer can in his fucking hand, laughing his ass off. Oh, sorry. You shouldn't have seen me. It's like the Wizard of Oz, right? You remember in the Wizard of Oz? Everybody thought the Oz was so powerful and so great. I am the Oz. And fucking Toto goes behind the fucking curtain and pulls it back to see this fat dude sitting back there pulling on fucking levers and shit. Come on, man. I hope that's not what God looks like. I hope that's not what God is, because that dude wasn't too smart in the Wizard of Oz. He was an insecure, not very attractive, not very intelligent individual. He manipulated people into believing he was all powerful. I think this is a Wizard of Oz situation, man. That's where I'm going with this. So everybody's making comments. I know Victoria mad as hell with me. Satan comes to kill, steal, destroy. He's been very busy. Satan ain't coming to do shit. It's crazy ass unstable people who are off their medication. The devil ain't killing nobody. It's people killing people. They got problems. Never seen the drive from Cali to Nevada unlocked for your land. Oops, sorry, okay. Satanas means in Hebrew the hinderer. Okay. Anybody got any other questions? Because Robert and I are gonna cut this one. Call it a day. We'll probably do one tomorrow. If you probably what, you want to do something on your channel, Robert?
I'm not got anything. I think I'm doing one tomorrow actually with
Okay.
a chap talking about God and Jesus. So yeah, it's on
All right, so
subject.
we'll do something. I'll pick up on my channel on Friday then, because you're gonna do something
Cool.
tomorrow, and I'll do something on Friday. Yeah, we'll do that.
Excellent.
Alfred Young just called me Satan. He just called me Satan. Shit is funny as hell. Yeah, I tell you what, if there's a devil, you better watch out, because I'm gonna fucking kick his fucking ass, man. Alfred Young says he's unsubscribed to me. I'm so sorry you unsubscribed, dude. It's funny, man. If there is a devil, you better watch out. You better watch out. I'm gonna kick his fucking ass, along with God, if he exists. They both got to sit down and answer some questions for me. Two selfish motherfuckers is what I think they are. The devil and God. Bunch of selfish, narcissistic, evil motherfuckers. One turns his back to let the other one ruin somebody's fucking life or just make him miserable. And then the other one just stands by and laughs his ass off while he just leaves the leftovers for the other one. What kind of fucking world is that? You want to live in a world like that? You want to believe you live in a world like that? Shit. All this shit that's going on, we doing this shit to each other. Ain't no God and no devil doing this shit to nobody. We're just inherently fucked up on the goddamn fucking quantum biophysics level. There's some of us, ain't nobody fucking absolutely righteous and fucking perfect. Everybody out there, you got some really dark shit inside of you. It just didn't come out yet. I guarantee you I can say the right fucking thing or push the right button with you and you'll go fucking postal on my ass. But deep down, I bet you all got love for each other out there. We all do. We're just choosing to be fucked up sometimes. Ain't got nothing to do with God and devil, man. Nothing to do with it. Wait, let me see. I'm going to read some of these other comments because they're funny too. The creator is real. Juan Carlos. He wanted to debate John. I love you, Victoria. You keep saying you were going to call me and talk to me. You ain't never. You just playing with my feelings, man. You ain't going to never talk to me. Come on the show. Thank you, Allison.
We got Martin.
All right, guys. We're going to call this one. We're going to do a show tomorrow, right? What time are you going to do it tomorrow?
It's around about 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock UK time.
9 o'clock UK time.
Yeah,
That's Robert.
I keep it flexible, fire it up when the person gets there. You know, it is start it early, start it or on time or sometimes late. But yeah,
Okay.
on tomorrow.
All right. And we'll do one on Friday, same time,
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
Awesome.
We're going to do the second part of Van Allen and the truth about radiation.
Cool.
You guys take care of yourselves. You know my motto. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Take good care of yourself. I got nothing but love for all of you. Peace out, man.